operation for transporting coal was blown up in Jharkhand's Sahibganj district. To get more details on this piece of breaking news, I'm joined by my colleague Akash Sharma on the broadcast. Akash, over to you.
So, Aishman, you see, this incident has happened, yesterday when this blast took place on the Lalmatia Farakka railway track. We have been told that this track is under NTPC and they carry out, operations on that track. In fact, Indian Railways traffic also go from that track, but it is under custody of NTPC. Also, as far as this incident is concerned, so we were told that some explosives were used to damage the track and a blast happened which damaged the track. Local police is investigating the matter as to who did it and under what circumstances. Also, NTPC guard was very much there on that particular location. We have an NTPC guard also deployed. So investigation is happening as to who did it and who was behind the particular explosion. This is a serious matter given the fact that we have seen multiple incidents in the Indian Railways, throughout Indian Railways network, where, either the outside objects are found on track or there is an attempt to derail the train. So this is also a reason why, local police will be taking that particular angle. Also, this is, very crucial investigation because today itself, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Jharkhand. We know that how Rail Minister Ashwini Vaishnav is in West Bengal and has, in fact, announced several sort of trains for the particular region. And in fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very much there. So it is a big security issue, and that's the reason why investigation is happening from all possible angles.
Right. Thank you, Akash, for getting us that piece of breaking news. This comes amid the rising sabotage threats targeting the Indian Railways. But that's all we have to pack in on the show. Up next, Nation at 5 with Krithveen Walia.
Putting Bharat's interests first, always. Incisive and unbiased news stories every single day.
Razor sharp and factual news stories from beginning to end.
Your favorite news shows at brand new times.
A very good evening. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Krithveen Walia. Well, the Middle East is edging ever closer to a full-blown war given the latest escalation by Iran. Remember, Iran has fired 200-odd ballistic missiles into Israel, and ever since, Israel has been vowing revenge. Israel says that Iran will have to pay a heavy price for it, and the United States has also been coming out with several interesting reactions. They say this is absolutely unacceptable and they stand with Israel no matter what. But like I said, all eyes are now on what action, if at all, will be taken by Israel, given the manner in which it has taken strong objection to these latest attacks launched by Iran. Now remember, this is for the first time after April that we see the two military powerhouses engaged in a conflict directly. So far, it was just Iran's proxies engaged in a conflict with Israel. So this most certainly is a dramatic turn of events in the conflict in Middle East. We first up hear it from the warning from the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, sending out a strong warning to Iran. Listen in.
אזרחי ישראל, בפתח דבריי אני שולח תנחומים למשפחות נרצחי הפיגוע הנפשע ביפו ואיחולי החלמה שלמה לפצועים. כמו במתקפת הטילים, גם מאחורי הפיגוע הזה יש יד מכוונת ורצחנית. היא מגיעה מטהרן. הערב איראן שוב תקפה את ישראל במאות טילים. המתקפה הזאת נכשלה. היא סוכלה בזכות מערך ההגנה האווירי של ישראל, שהוא המתקדם ביותר בעולם, ואני מברך את צה"ל על ההישג המרשים. היא גם סוכלה בזכות הערנות והאחריות שגיליתם אתם, אזרחי ישראל. ואני מודה גם לארצות הברית על תמיכתה במאמץ ההגנה שלנו. איראן עשתה הערב טעות גדולה, והיא תשלם על כך. המשטר באיראן לא מבין את נחישותנו להגן על עצמנו, ואת נחישותנו לגמול לאויבינו. סינואר ודף לא הבינו זאת, נסראללה ומוחסן לא הבינו זאת, וכנראה יש בטהרן אלה שלא מבינים זאת. הם יבינו. נעמוד בכלל שקבענו. מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו תוקפים אותו. זה נכון בכל מקום כשאנחנו נלחמים בציר הרשע. זה נכון ליהודה ושומרון, זה נכון לעזה, ללבנון, לתימן, לסוריה, וזה נכון גם לאיראן. אנחנו נלחמים בציר הרשע בכל מקום, כולל חיילינו הגיבורים שפועלים עכשיו בדרום לבנון ובעזה. היום יותר מתמיד, כוחות האור בעולם חייבים להתאחד ולפעול יחד נגד משטר האייתולות החשוך שהוא מקור הטרור והרוע באזורנו. עליהם לעמוד לצד ישראל. הבחירה מעולם לא הייתה ברורה יותר, בין העריצות לחופש, בין הברכה לקללה. בערב ראש השנה אני אומר לכם אזרחי ישראל, ישראל בתנופה, וציר הרשע בנסיגה. נעשה כל מה שצריך כדי להמשיך מגמה זו, להשיג את כל מטרות המלחמה, ובראשם החזרת כל חטופינו, ולהבטיח את קיומנו ועתידנו. שנה טובה ופתוחה לכולכם.
Well, remember, India is also viewing the situation very closely. In fact, several nations have already established a contingency plan given the seriousness with which we've seen this sudden escalation on part of Iran. But to quickly take you through an important bit of news that we've managed to access exclusively here on CNN News 18. This is with regards to how the government is extremely concerned about the safety of Indian missions, the diplomats and staffers, after the attacks on various missions. In fact, we're learning an advisory has also been issued, and next step will be taken if the situation deteriorates. So that's as per highly placed sources in the government. Indian missions in Lebanon, Tehran and Tel Aviv under threat, and that's what is being keenly monitored by India. I want to go across to Siddhant, my colleague, joining us with more details. West Asia remains on the edge. There's been a series of escalations one day after another, Siddhant. But tell us about what the government of India is planning to do with regards to its citizens, diplomats in some of these countries concerned.
Look, for government, particularly the safety of abroad is a paramount priority. And perhaps this time also, what Manu Gupta is bringing for us is that government should be concerned about the security of in these three countries, Lebanon, Israel, Iran. There are Manu Gupta's input that Iran has 10,000 people, and the same is the situation. Even the embassy in Lebanon is also facing mission in Lebanon is also facing problems. The mission in Tel Aviv is safe despite the missile attack by Iran, and even India is also preparing a contingency plan to evacuate in case situation goes out of hand. India has a contingency plan. Perhaps that plan is being worked out, how to safely evacuate diplomats and Indians from the area where conflict takes place. So through road route to various other routes, those deliberations are right now going on. The priority will be given to the family of the diplomats, and if the situation gets worsened, then the families of the diplomats will be given priorities. With the Indians living in Iran, Lebanon, and Israel, they want to come back. The situation goes out of hand. India has ready contingency plan in place.
Let's not forget, Siddhant, why this is also important is because if you remember in April, what really led to Iran striking Israel is the manner in which, one of its own missions came under attack in Syria. And Iran decided to pin the blame on Israel, and that's what really led to that particular face-off. So there is a concern around any such possibility in the future as well. More so, Indian mission in Iran, for example, if Israel decides to retaliate.
Well, yes, the missions are the most, I would say, the most easy targets at times in the war, in the conflict situation. In fact, we saw what happened to the residents of the ambassador of UAE in Sudan. Civil war is going on in Sudan, and the ambassador's residence was attacked. So, given the situation in Middle East, the war is continuing. Any government, it's their responsibility to make sure their missions are safe. And India, which gives paramount importance to the diplomats, missions abroad, and the Indian community, diaspora abroad,
is perhaps taking the situation very, very seriously. Contingency plan is being worked out at this point in time. The government is in touch with mission. Every second hour there is a input that is being shared. What is happening there on ground, and situation is fluid, so nobody can predict or perhaps have an exact assessment of where this conflict will go here onwards. So, in that scenario, India is perhaps ready with a plan to evacuate its people, maybe through a road route or maybe some other route, or they may be asked to move to the other country, and from there evacuations can take place. So, like other countries, Spain, Germany, India is also with a lot of people, and India is very much in touch with the diaspora and also with the embassies in various countries in the Middle East.
Siddhant, it's very interesting what you've just highlighted, because it's not just India. There are several other, countries that are very closely monitoring the situation. They want to protect their own citizens. So there is a contingency plan in place. But I'll come back to you in just a bit. Let's talk a little bit about the US position in the latest. So far, we've seen Iran say very clearly that US must not intervene in our internal affairs or our conflict with any other country, Israel in this case. But US has made it absolutely clear that Iran will have to face consequences if it goes ahead with this kind of aggression. Let's hear it from President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
At my direction, the United States military actively supported the defense of Israel, and we're still assessing the impact. But based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective. And this is testament to Israeli military capability and U.S. military. It's also a testament to intensive planning between the United States and Israel to anticipate and defend against the brazen attack we expected. Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel. And I've been spent the morning and part of the afternoon in the Situation Room, and meeting with my whole national security team and consulting with the Israelis indirectly, because in terms of their impact on us. And the national security team has been, as I said, in constant contact with Israeli officials and their counterparts.
I fully support President Biden's order for the U.S. military to shoot down Iranian missiles targeting Israel, just as we did in April. As I have said, I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist militias. My commitment to the security of Israel is unwavering. And let us be clear, Iran is not only a threat to Israel, Iran is also a threat to American personnel in the region, American interests, and innocent civilians across the region who suffer at the hands of Iran-based and backed terrorist proxies. We will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend U.S. forces and interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists.
I utterly condemn this attempt by the Iranian regime to harm innocent Israelis, to escalate this incredibly dangerous situation and push the region ever closer to the brink. It cannot be tolerated. We stand with Israel and we recognise her right to self-defence in the face of this aggression. Iran must stop these attacks, together with its proxies like Hezbollah. Iran has menaced the Middle East for far too long. Chaos and destruction brought not just to Israel, but to the people they live amongst in Lebanon and beyond. Make no mistake, Britain stands full square against such violence. The situation in Lebanon is increasingly grave. I want to repeat my advice to British nationals who are still in Lebanon. You must leave now. You should register your presence with government officials on our website. We have a chartered flight and we're doing everything we can to get people out. But the situation is extremely volatile. So if you have the means to leave, the time is now. Do not wait.
Well, we've been telling you about the communication between the United States of America and Israel. There are top officials holding regular meetings to discuss the emerging situation in the Middle East. But let's tell you about the internal meetings in Israel, as all eyes are on Israel's next big move. There's breaking news. We've managed to access that Israel Chief of General Staff, the head of Shin Bet, and the head of Mossad are holding consultations as we speak. Siddhant, my colleague, continues to stay on with us. Siddhant, this is the way forward for Israel. We'll just reconnect with Siddhant in a bit, but like I said, a host of meetings have been ongoing in Israel as well. In fact, just a short while ago, Israeli Air Force also took to social media to talk about the manner in which continuous targeted activities are being attempted by the forces in several areas in southern Lebanon. They say commando forces, paratroopers, armor along with Air Force aircrafts, fighter jets continue these targeted activities given the aggression that's been seen on part of Hezbollah. Further, we've also seen how Iran, after having launched a salvo of about 200 ballistic missiles at Israeli military targets, has said that this is a warning. It's a warning sign. It's not an attack on Israel. And if at all Israel chooses to respond, the retaliation from Iran's end is going to be more damaging than ever. That's the kind of warning that Iran has also come out to send in the meanwhile. But yes, these developments have once again raised concerns around the manner in which the Middle East is edging ever closer towards a full-blown regional war, with Israel also vowing to respond to Iran's huge barrage of ballistic missiles which were fired on the country late last night India time. Now, this is a dramatic military escalation in the region, and like I said, for the first time that we see both the military powerhouses in the Middle East engaged in a direct conflict, which is what magnifies the seriousness of the situation. But as far as Israel is concerned, Israel has been saying that it's not going to let go of this. In fact, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself addressed Israelis and said that Iran will have to pay a huge price for this. Like I said, there are meetings that are currently underway, meetings involving Israel Chief of General Staff, the head of Shin Bet, and also the head of Mossad. They're holding consultations. In fact, United States of America also through several top officials has conveyed that US will be providing as much military support to Israel as is needed. Let me go across to Anand Narasimhan joining us on the phone line with more details. Anand, it's but natural that we will keep seeing these kind of consultations on part of Israel, but all eyes really on the next big move of Israel, which says that Iran will have to most certainly pay a heavy price for this.
Well, one of the things that the Israeli army and the Israelis are very good at is psyops. So everybody is looking at Israel for a reaction and a response. So what they're doing is they're also optically playing up the entire psyops. They're going to keep Iran on the edge, and that's the biggest psyching up that can be done of the entire region. And it also frays the nerves to a level where Israel will look at a weak point or a point where there will be a certain breathing out or a waiting, and just when the opponents will think that this is nothing but a lot of psyops and a lot of flexing of the muscle, but there's nothing there, and they let down their guard, and that's when the Israelis will try and move in. Now, with the Shin Bet and the Mossad talking to each other, clearly there is some intel sharing and, of course, a strategic sharing. What will be the ideal response by Israel that will be seen as commensurate, or if not more, a retaliation or an answer to Iran's offense on Israeli territory? Now, that's the big question. And Israel is saying that, we have done things which the world could not imagine. They've demonstrated that with the pagers, they've demonstrated that with the walkie-talkies, they've demonstrated that with taking Nasrallah out, and also Ismail Haniyeh out. So the Hamas head, the Hezbollah head, all out within a matter of months, and they've done all of this with months of preparation, with nobody expected from them. Now the world is expecting, because Israel has committed to it, that it will respond to Iran. Now Iran has also challenged Israel to respond or to just sit quiet. Either ways, there is a certain level of optics which is at play, and that's why the IDF, and you're seeing these pictures also being released. It's not that the first time the Shin Bet head and the Mossad head are meeting. They could have met in secrecy, they could have met in isolation, they could have met that without the camera's eyes or these pictures need not have been shared to the world. There is a reason why this is being done, because both sides are also playing up the psyops, the optics game. And here it is just to try and tell Iran, be on standby, be on standby, be on standby. You just be red alert. Now, for the last 12 hours plus, Iran has been on red alert. It has shut down its airspace since last night, fearing a retaliation. How long will Iran continue to be on frayed nerves is another psyops game where Israel will make Iran sweat, and they'll continue to do that. So this is classic psyops game that is also visible, because the IDF and the Israelis need not really show to the world how they are consulting, who they are meeting, and why they are speaking. Now, all of this information being shared with the global press and the global media is that everyone's lapping it up, and everybody's adding on to this entire hype around Israel's response and where it's going to be. And it could be an optical illusion or a psyops game where Israel may decide a different day, place, or a different thing altogether, or they may have already put certain things in motion which could manifest in the next few hours, in the next few days, or in the next few months. We don't know. But right now, it just seems like, yes, there is consultation, but the mood within Israel is also that most Israelis want a strong response to Iran. Now, how is that going to happen? We'll have to wait and watch. But yes, there could be important information and consultancy and strategies and alternatives. What could be the select targets that could also be shared? But my point is that we should also understand that it's not necessary that that's what's being shared right now. It's what they want the world to believe, that Israel is on the move. They're going to strike. They're going to strike. And Iranians are going to be watching this very, very closely.
Absolutely. And Iran seems to have attempted the same previously, isn't it, Anand? With Iran also sending out a message not just to Israel, but also to its proxies, so that the credibility with its proxies stays intact. But many thanks for sharing that detailed perspective with us, Anand. We need to head into a very short break with that. We promise to be right back with the latest on the other side. Keep watching.
परमात्मा और
Welcome back. You're watching CNN News 18. Do remember, before the Iranian ballistic missiles were launched into Israel, we did see ground incursions on part of Israel into southern Lebanon. And now we're learning, after the attack that came in from Iran, there is a little bit of combat fighting that is underway in South Lebanon. In fact, IDF has also taken to social media to announce the death of an officer who was killed during the fighting against Hezbollah, the first fatality of Israel's ground operation in Lebanon. So they've shared details of the soldier. They say he was killed during a battle with Hezbollah operatives in a village in southern Lebanon. Now, there's a little bit of pushback we see on part of Hezbollah, with both Israel and Hezbollah fighting on the ground in Lebanon after the Israeli invasion. Israel, remember, crossed over into southern Lebanon, and we've seen a little bit of a ground incursion on their part. They, of course, called it a limited operation in southern Lebanon, but now we see a little bit of pushback coming in from the Hezbollah that continue to fight some of these soldiers in the southern suburbs in Lebanon. So that's the latest bit of breaking news update coming in. I also want to quickly talk about more reactions that we're picking up on part of Israel on the manner in which they plan to take this forward. CNN News 18 also spoke to Alex Gandler, deputy spokesperson of Israeli Foreign Ministry, on the manner in which Israel has viewed this so far and the plan in place going forward. Listen in.
Alex, what's the situation right now after Iran has attacked Israel yesterday? In fact, there is full support that Israel has from the United States. Want to know from you that what is going to be the next move of Israel in terms of attacking Iran, or there is going to be something else that Israel will do to retaliate, to respond to what Iran has done yesterday?
Well, I think retaliation is an incorrect framing of the situation. Maybe response is a bit more correct. Israel allows itself a time and a way to respond to Iran's shooting of more than 180 ballistic missiles at its citizens and civilians. I don't think I'm able to speak about what we're planning or what might come, but you need to understand we have goals. We have strategic goals to reach. This is not a tit-for-tat competition between us and Iran. Maybe it is for Iran, but it is definitely not like that for us. Okay. We have logical ways and means to deal with this. One of the goals is, of course, returning 101 hostages from the hands of Hamas. Another one is to destroy Hamas completely as a military and governing force in Gaza. Another one is in the north with Hezbollah, driving it north of the Litani River, as per Resolution 1701 of the United Nations Security Council resolution. And another one is to destroy any offensive infrastructure Hezbollah has in the northern region of Israel or close to the border of the northern region of Israel. As you understand, these are all Iranian proxies. In essence, they are Iran itself, or the Islamic regime, to be more precise. The Iranian people are something else completely.
Even as we speak, there are minute escalations that are being witnessed in southern Lebanon. We'll keep getting you all those details. A quick break for now. We'll be right back.
परमात्मा
Joining us now is the former Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla ji. Harshvardhan Shringla ji, namaste.
Namaste, Anandji.
Jai Hind, and thank you for your time. How would you read the current situations, the escalation ladder that both Israel and Iran have now climbed?
Well, Anand, what we have seen yesterday was a severe escalation in the Middle East conflict. As we know, the conflict began about a year ago, the present phase of the conflict, when Hamas launched a unilateral and unprovoked attack, terrorist attack, into Israel, killed a number of civilians and took a number of civilians hostages. That precipitated an Israeli response. Israel then entered the Gaza Strip and have been there ever since in that attempt to deal with Hamas and rescue the hostages. In the meantime, we've seen an escalation from, the Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis from Yemen. Both these entities, as well as Hamas, as we know, are controlled by Iran. What I think is the difference is that now Iran has got directly involved in this conflict. So far, it has been activating its proxies or the entities it controls. But now it seems to have got into the conflict directly. And yesterday's wave of ballistic missile attacks on Israel was not the first; it was the second time this has happened. But clearly, it represents a major escalation. The other factor, of course, is that while it was in the beginning just Israel and the Hamas in the Gaza Strip, today Israel is involved also in terms of its physical presence in southern Lebanon. Israeli troops, as we speak, have crossed into southern Lebanon and are attempting what they call a limited military operation. I don't know how limited that will be, but they have, across Lebanon. This is not the first time they've crossed Lebanon. It was in 2006 that, you had Resolution 1701 that was in the aftermath of that conflict between Israel and the Hezbollah. The Houthis are pretty far away, but Israel has demonstrated it can strike right up to Yemen, which is much further away even than Iran. But Iran itself is within the reach of Israel. And if you saw, both the United States and Israel are talking about retaliation.
Yes.
U.S. National Security Advisor talked about severe consequences. And so the next phase of this conflict is likely to be even more, I would say, severe than the previous phases. A direct confrontation between two states. So far, it has been a state, that is Israel, fighting with non-state actors. But now, two states are directly involved in this conflict. Both states have the capacities to inflict enormous damage, their military capacities. And it is entering a worrying phase where, things could escalate even beyond the region because the US has put its troops on alert, I think has brought in more assets into the region. There are other partners and allies of the United States like UK. And clearly, I think, this if you see, there is a G7 emergency meeting that's been called, and things seem to be taking a turn for the worse. So there is concern all around.
But in this case, Iran has said, you try and attack our refineries, we'll set the neighboring neighborhood, we will take the fight into the neighborhood and also the neighborhood refineries to fire. They have also said that they are trying to call all the Islamic nations to come together in this grouping, although a lot of them have tried to steer clear. There has been attack via Sudan at the UAE mission there in Sudan also. So there are some other ripples and repercussions. How would you read that?
So there are various fault lines that we have to look at. I mean, one of them is a Shia-Sunni fault line because Iran represents, a Shia power in the region. So the Hezbollah, the Houthis are Shia auxiliaries. Hamas is not, of course. Hamas is a Sunni auxiliary. But by involving itself directly in a conflict with Israel, through the Hamas, through the Hezbollah, through the Houthis, and now directly, Iran is saying that we are fighting the cause for the entire Ummah. In other words, they are fighting for the Muslim world.
Yes.
Whereas those, established powers in that region themselves are not involved. And as such is trying to take a certain amount of credit. But I think you can also miscalculate in this because I don't think Iran wanted to get very deep into this conflict. They wanted just to show and demonstrate that they are, how would you say, they are invested in this conflict. they would have preferred to work through proxies, through Hamas. Activate Hamas before the Abraham Accord could be signed. Activate Hezbollah so that Israel is distracted. Activate the Houthis in the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, and of course, directly with Israel. But now that they're directly involved, I think it takes on a new phase, and it could also be detrimental to their interests because Israel can inflict damage to strategic targets inside Iran, whether it is petroleum refineries, whether it is even the Natanz, nuclear facilities. We don't know, but I mean, obviously, Israel has demonstrated it has both the intelligence and the reach. And the fact that Iran is talking about, taking the conflict elsewhere into, say, the Gulf or areas that Western interests are strongly represented in, it is actually saying that if you do something to us, we may not respond symmetrically, we may respond asymmetrically.
Correct.
It may not hit out on Israel because it has shown what it can do, and that is what it can do. And yesterday's attack did not inflict the sort of casualties that might have been expected.
True, and Israel claims not much damage has been done, Iran claims otherwise, but this now no longer remains a proxy war, Harsh Shringla. From Bharat's point of view, we've got strategic interests here. The Chabahar port agreements and some rekindling there has happened with Iran, engagements have happened. There is the I2U2 pact where America, UAE and Israel are involved. There is the India-Middle Eastern Economic Corridor which goes all the way up to Italy. That also passes through some of these kingdoms and some of these regions. What happens to all of that?
So we have huge stakes in the region, starting with 9 million Indians who work and live in the Gulf area. We've got very good relations with Israel. We've got good relations with Iran. We work with countries across the region. And if you saw the conversation between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Prime Minister Modi said that terrorism cannot be justified and there is no place for terrorism in the world. But at the same time, he said that, we should make all efforts to basically, ensure that there is no regional escalation, which is happening, and to ensure the safety of hostages, which is important in Gaza. And then, of course, we have also, Prime Minister offered that India is committed to doing whatever it can, whatever efforts it can for an early restoration of peace in the region. So what we are saying is that it's so, we are so invested in the area, there is so much at stake for us, and that we are always happy to work in a manner that can be conducive to bring about peace and, better, I would say, relations in the region. Something like what we have done in Ukraine and Russia, because we have, as I said, good relations with all concerned.
Correct.
So we have the ability to tell all concerned that, look, this is the time that you should sit down and talk to each other, because an escalation can be, detrimental to your interests, but to interests of everybody else also. I mean, this is really having the propensity to escalate into a larger conflict and one that can engulf all of us. So I think we have to keep that in mind. And in that, I think Prime Minister Modi's message is very important in that context.
True. My final question, Harsh Shringla, do you believe that there could be a certain escalation from both sides in the near future in this region, so that perhaps there is some backing off and taking the foot off the pedal in Ukraine? Is there a connection here?
Well, the connection is that, one conflict takes off, the other one goes into the back burner. I mean, there are some concerns expressed that the Middle East conflict is taking up a lot of the bandwidth. And as a result, I think there is some sort of, less attention and focus on the Ukraine conflict. I think they're interlinked from the point of view that, the resources are the same. The Americans will have the same munitions that they would have to give to Israel or they'd have to give to Ukraine. The Western world will have to focus their attentions on, do they focus on the Middle East or do they focus on the Ukraine conflict? So these are issues that are dilemmas. I mean, obviously, nobody wants to see multiple fronts. Israel is fighting on 4 fronts already. But the fact is that it does divert the attention, at least from the Western world. It's not in their interest that it continues. President Biden has always been talking about a ceasefire. But one factor you have to note is that the US is distracted at this point of time because of its presidential elections.
Yes.
There's also a time where all the protagonists know that whatever gains they have to make on the ground, they have to make them now. To create facts on the ground now. So if Ukraine has to occupy the Kursk region in Russia, you do it now. If Russia has to take over parts of Donetsk and Luhansk, you have to do it now. If the Israelis have to get into Lebanon and occupy parts of southern Lebanon which are troublesome, you do it now. If the Iranians have to demonstrate to the larger, Muslim or Arab world that they are basically doing it for them, they have to do it now. So all the protagonists are all charged up because they know that this is the time that they have to accomplish their gains whichever way possible, or accomplish their objectives in whichever way possible before a US president is sworn in and starts coming down quite heavily on the region and on the region's concerned. And, different presidents will take a different approach, but at the end of the day, there'll be far more focus on bringing some of these conflicts under some control. So here you have to see that, read that context. I think at this point of time, the global predominant power is preoccupied, and the regional players are sort of doing what they can to, including Iran. I mean, and especially Iran, I would say, is doing what they can to create facts on the ground.
True, interesting perspective. Nations like Bharat are saying yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai with respect to Vikas, whereas these protagonists are saying yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai with respect to Vinash.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well put.
Thank you, Harshingla ji. Thank you for speaking.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Take care.
We're going to take a very short break here on the broadcast. Stay with us.
Brought to you.
Welcome back. Today marks 10 years of the Swachh Bharat mission, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the Swachh Bharat Divas. He also inaugurated a host of projects around sanitation and cleanliness worth 9,600 crore rupees. Well, it's been an action-packed day for the Prime Minister. He participated in a cleanliness drive at a school, further urged citizens to join the initiative and strengthen the spirit of Swachh Bharat. He also visited Jharkhand, laid the foundation stone, launched various projects worth over 83,300 crore rupees, and early in the morning visited Rajghat and paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi on the occasion of his 155th birth anniversary. Remember, viewers, the theme for this year is Swabhav Swachhata, Sanskar Swachhata, which promotes cleanliness and environmental health. Several leaders have reacted to this very special day for the NDA Sarkar. Listen in.
जिस भारत का सपना गांधी जी और देश की महान विभूतियों ने देखा था, वो सपना हम सब मिलकर के पूरा करें। आज का दिन हमें ये प्रेरणा देता है। स्वच्छ भारत मिशन को, उसकी यात्रा को 10 साल के मुकाम पर हम पहुंच चुके हैं। स्वच्छ भारत मिशन की ये यात्रा करोड़ों भारतवासियों की अटूट प्रतिबद्धता का प्रतीक है। साथियों, आज से 1000 साल बाद भी जब 21वीं सदी की भारत का अध्ययन होगा, तो उसमें स्वच्छ भारत अभियान को जरूर याद किया जाएगा।
Congratulations to the people of India on Swachh Bharat Day. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, the Swachh Bharat mission was launched a decade ago with the ambitious goal of eradicating open defecation across the country. It has installed millions of toilets and built thousands of fecal sludge treatment plants, ensuring safer sanitation for millions. India's approach has served as a model of community-driven programs, inspiring and mobilizing people across India. The impact of this mission on sanitation and health has been amazing, particularly for the poor and for women. The mission's success is a testament to India's ability to drive meaningful change on a massive scale.
I congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister on this occasion marking the 10-year commemoration of the various rural programs that have benefited millions of people in rural India. The Tata Trusts are proud to have been associated and partnered with these programs and look forward to continued support in this very important area in the years to come.
The Swachh Bharat mission, spearheaded by our Honorable Prime Minister, marks a significant step towards realizing Gandhiji's dream of a clean and self-reliant India. Let's all come together and take this mission to new heights and make our country even more beautiful.
स्वच्छ भारत मिशन एक ऐसा मिशन है जिसमें हर परिवार को भाग लेना चाहिए।
और हमारे लिए it's not just about keeping our surroundings clean. It's about showing our kids that a healthy environment is a foundation for a happy life.
महात्मा गांधी जी ने हमेशा कहा है कि असली बदलाव की शुरुआत हमसे ही होती है। On October 2nd, we honor his dream of a clean India.
Our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has shown committed and strong leadership by working tirelessly in turning this mission into a nationwide movement. और हम ये इंश्योर करना चाहते हैं कि हमारे बच्चे ये समझें कि हर छोटा कदम, चाहे वो एक टुकड़ा उठाना हो या प्लास्टिक का उपयोग ना करना हो, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है।
आइए हम सब मिलकर इस मिशन को अपना जीवन का हिस्सा बनाएं। हमारे लिए, हमारे परिवारों के लिए और एक उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए।
That's all from me in this edition of Nation at 5. Up next is Plain Speak with Poonam Burde.
Incisive and unbiased news stories every single day.
Now at a brand new time. Brostax, now at 8 p.m.
Good evening, you're watching Plain Speak with me, Poonam Burde. The war in the Middle East has escalated to unprecedented levels. After weeks of Israeli attacks on Iranian proxy groups, Iran finally hit back with a barrage of over 200 ballistic missiles late last night. Cities of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem were struck as well. The attack, which was accompanied by a large-scale cyber attack, also employed Iran's new Fatah hypersonic ballistic missile for the first time, is what Iranian state media said. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the attacks were in response to Israel's killing of one of its top commanders and leaders of Iran-backed militias in the region. They said this was revenge for the killings of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah and IRGC commander in the Lebanese capital of Beirut on 27th of September. They added that this operation was over and that they weren't looking for any more escalation. But that is far from reality, because now the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence has issued a threat, and that too in Hebrew. An execution list has been put out by Iran comprising of what they call are Israeli terrorists, and Benjamin Netanyahu's name is on top of that.